And hello Tubeland, this is Andy Silver from Singapore, and today we're going to be going back into the major scale, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at two shapes, pattern number 1 and pattern number 3. So pattern number 1, a lot of people do it and they know it, and there's a lot of videos on it. Pattern number 3, few people show it, but let's take a look at both of these patterns. And if you looked at the earlier videos, you would have noticed I've already broken down some of the shape that you're going to be using in today's video. So what we've got here is pattern number 1 first. Now you'll notice I've broken them up into 3 groups. My 1, 2, 4s, my 1, 3, 4s, and then that odd combination of 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. Alright, so if you see this pattern, without looking at where the number 1 is, you can already start to hear that it sounds like a major scale. And that's not what I was playing. I was using basically pattern number 1 and pattern number 3. That's it. The good thing about these two patterns is about straight going up and down the neck, so there's no shifting involved. So it's an easy pattern for beginners to pick up and get your fingers comfortable. Now the harder pattern like pattern number 5 and pattern number 2, there's a lot more shifting involved, and there might be different in finger choices that you might use coming up and down from the different strings you're going from. So this is where it can get a bit complicating. So we'll look at pattern 5 and 2 probably the next video before we move on to pattern number 4 at the end, and I'll tell you why I chose that particular order. So let's look at pattern number 1 first. You've got a 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. I'm doing in A major scale, so I'm going to use my number 1 on the 4th fret, right, on the 6th string, 4th fret, 6th string, number 1 finger, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. That's the first 2 strings. So don't worry where your 1 is in this, as in where the root note of the scale is. Just get your hand comfortable with this idea first. Now that's the first 2 pairs that you want to look at, ascending, yeah? Then you jump down to the next string, which is the D string, and you're going to do a 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Just these 2 shapes. So this one is not 1, 2, 4, but 1, 3, 4. So this is where you want to get your fingers used to the idea, and then you go back up and you see where they put them together. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. And you've already covered 4 strings. There's only 2 more strings to look at. So get your fingers used to this idea. Ascending, and then think about going back. Don't worry where the 1 is yet. Just get the movement right. Now your fingers might stumble around here. 1, 2, 4 and a 1, 3, 4. Whenever you stumble, what you want to do is you want to go extra slow and count yourself very, be mindful about what you're doing. Count out your fingers if you need to. 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 1. So you say that a few times as you're doing it. So you make sure what you're saying is what you're doing, and you should be able to get the movement. This is usually the first part where people have problems. Now once you've got that, now you look at the last 2 strings. It's a 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. So this B string here only got 2 notes. There's no third notes, which a lot of people don't like in the cage system, because there's always one string with just 2 notes, sometimes two strings with just 2 notes, but most of the time it's only 1 string. And so everyone is like I want to do something more. So for beginners, just to try it out, go back and forth on this. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2. That should get your fingers into a nice rhythm. So you're kind of playing 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Back to 1. So 8 notes, sorry, not 6. Notice I'm anchoring my number 1 finger. My number 1 is not really moving as I'm doing this particular segment. Now once you've got that, you go back from here. can link it up. So you're breaking them into little segments. So once you got this particular segment on the high string, then you see whether you can put everything together. 1 2 4 1 2 4 1 3 4 1 3 4, and the 2 4, and then a 1 2 4, and then you go backwards slowly, very mindfully. As you're doing this, tell yourself you don't need to play at this speed. You can even go slower, and you can write it down. Now I can give you diagrams here, but you can already find these diagrams on Google and everywhere. The point I'm trying to make here is this: when you're doing this, right, when you're learning music and when you're practicing on an instrument, you want to be proactive about it. Get a blank piece of paper, draw it out. That's what I used to do myself. You draw 6 lines, maybe 4 frets, draw where those patterns are. Don't just look at diagrams. Be a bit more proactive. Let your mind look at it visually on a piece of paper, and then as you're doing the shape, you should be able to see it. So the comparison is 1 2 4 1 2 4 1 3 4 1 3 4 2 4 1 2 4. Then you go back up. So you're going to compare this shape to pattern number 3. Now you'll notice I purposely ended on my number 2 finger here. That's the root. That's the 1 in this pattern. So if let's say I was just playing the pattern by itself first. Now I'm going back up. And then I want to end there. That's how I get major scale pattern number 1. Take your time, slowly do this. Observe it slowly. Watch a few more other videos. Don't just watch from one source. Watch from a few sources so you get an idea. The important thing is you want to look at it from multiple sources, multiple points of views to understand one topic. So that's pattern number 1. Now let's look at pattern number 3. Since we are doing an A major scale, pattern number 3, the pinky is going to be on the 12th fret. Now you don't want to do it on the 12th fret. Let's say you don't have an electric guitar, you got an acoustic guitar. Let's say you have a classical guitar, it's a bit difficult to do it. Then you can try the same pattern somewhere else for now. But let's say you can, 12th fret, 5th string, number 5 string, the A string, pinky finger on that note, that's the A note again. Just 1 octave up. So this is the pattern. So this is where the A is, but this is the pattern. 1 2 4 1 3 4. Remember this part where we're doing this here? Is now here. Same notes. Right? So you got 1 2 4 1 3 4. Get used to that first. And just like down here, the 1 3 4 is another 1 3 4, right? So what's going to happen here is going to be the same thing. So you got 1 2 4 1 3 4, and then you got 1 3 4 again. And then the 2 notes. In this case, it's a 1 3. There's no more 4, there's no 2, there's 1 3 on the G string. So only these 2 notes. So now number 2, 1 2 4 1 3 4 1 3 4, and then 1 3, and then you got 2 1 2 4s. And then you go back up, and that's the root here as well. So pattern 1, pattern 3. That's the root here. So notice there's no shifting. In other shapes you will have to shift. Let's say I have to do pattern number 5. Notice I have to shift, then I have to come back. There's shifting involved. Pattern 2, a lot of shiftings. So different shapes, there will be different situations, but essentially you're playing the same notes, but at slightly different octaves. Some going slightly higher, some going slightly lower. So what's the point of learning all these patterns? First, it's going to give your hand a kind of like a map. it's like as a beginner, you want to have this simple place that your hand can go. Alright, you want to have a place where your hand can easily find some ideas, and you'll find that after a while, because you know the shapes, your fingers tend to play the right notes most of the time. And even when you want to play outside of the box, you will know how not to get lost. You will know how to come back. So this, as a beginner, is very important. You really want to know your shapes. Now, I know there'll be some people tell you have to learn everything 3 notes per string. Sure, later. That is good to know. But you want to know your basics. It's like knowing your times tables. You gotta know what a 2 times 2 is, or a 4 times 4 is. You gotta know those basic stuff. Eventually, you will use it every now and then. You just don't have to think about it. So get the messy stuff out of the way. Pattern 1, pattern 3. Once you can do pattern 1, up and down, you can jump. Go up pattern 3. Come back. So you have this circle of movements. This usually takes people about 2 weeks. Most of my students will be able to get this by 2 weeks. Then you go the other way. Use the dots as your landmarks so that you don't get lost. Now, what I did earlier was playing some basic chords that will combine together with a major scale to create melodic ideas with your playing. You can also do them with your open chords. Let's say I'm doing A chord. Now that's kind of like a D major 7, but you could also very close to a F minor. So if you look at the shape, right? This A major shape, you just bring it down. So it's like ambiguous to the ear, so you can use the shape. And this is hard. This takes a bit of time. Usually about 1-2 months after you get your major scale shape used and you're good with it, and your hand knows where to go, then you can start trying out basic chords. 3-finger chords. Keeping the A drone. So that's your major scale pattern number 1 and pattern number 3. Next session we'll be looking at pattern number 5 and pattern number 2. Okay, so those will be a bit harder and I'll go a bit slower in it, but pattern 1 and pattern 3 should be okay. So see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.